If you're wondering what she's doing, she's recording this part of the service. By law, we can't, on our recordings we put on the Facebook, we can't have any music. So we can't have even the Lord's Prayer. I guess it's got a copyright on it. I don't know who gets the benefits from that. Maybe we all do. I don't know. Okay. Today we start our 4-week series on prosperity. And during this time, I'm going to be sharing some ideas with you that will help you attract good fortune and well-being into your life. Because that's actually what prosperity means, good fortune and well-being. Today, I'm going to be focusing on faith and why faith is so important in our quest for prosperity. Most Texans have great faith in their ability to be prosperous, don't they? There's a story about a Texas oil man visiting New York City for the very first time. He went into a bar, sat up on a bar stool. Right away, this pretty lady came and sat down beside him. And he said to her, "Well, hello there, little darling. I'm Billy Bob Benson from," she's, "Oh, don't tell me. I know where you're from. You're from Texas, right?" And he said, "Well, yes, I am. You're very perceptive. How do you know?" So I saw your hat, I saw your boots, you called me little darling, and you're sitting up there so tall in your chair. It's got to be from Texas. He said, "Well, you are perceptive except for one thing." "And what's that?" the lady asked. "I'm not really that tall. I'm sitting on my wallet." All right, everybody, are we sitting on our wallet this morning? If it's because that wallet is making us tall like the Texan, that's a good thing. But it's not so good if we're afraid to share our abundance with others. So we're keeping all our abundance in our wallet to ourselves. The July-August edition of the Unity magazine, I don't know how many of you get the Unity magazine. I know one time I ordered copies for all the board directors. I bet they didn't renew it. But it is a great magazine. This month, the feature is Catherine Ponder. She has long been synonymous in Unity circles with teaching and studying laws of prosperity. If you don't know anything about her, she was ordained a Unity minister in 1958, the same year a recession hit. The very same year, as brand new Unity minister at her very first church in Birmingham, I think, she began teaching prosperity, a weekly prosperity class. And it was based on Charles Fillmore's 1938 book on prosperity. Well, Catherine Ponder has now written 17 books of her own on prosperity. She still teaches the same prosperity principles that she ever taught because the principles never change. They're the same. I think she turns 90 this month. So she's been teaching these principles, still is, for over 60 years. Works for her, works for everybody. Now, most people think of money and finances when they think of prosperity, right? But Catherine Ponder advises not to just limit prosperity to money and finances. In the magazine article, the interviewer asks why, and she answers, "You are prosperous to the degree that you are experiencing peace, health, and plenty in your world." Peace, health, and plenty. That's prosperity. Second question that she was asked about in the article, and this makes a lot of people nervous. I know it won't make you nervous. It's about tithing. And she's asked, "What advice do you give to anxious tithers?" She answers, "It's through the law of giving and receiving that we receive and demonstrate prosperity. The first step to receive is to give." That's the first step. The act of giving, she says, moves on universal substance and starts that substance flowing back to you in some appropriate way. We are never impoverished by our giving, says Catherine Ponder, and there is always something we can give. Always, always. In her book, The Secret of Unlimited Prosperity, she says, when you think you can't afford to tithe, that's when you cannot afford not to tithe. Tithing releases unlimited supply to you. and you must share your substance to ensure the continuation of it. Sharing and expectancy are the beginning of financial increase, because when you share, you should expect a new supply coming into you. If you share something, you will get a new supply. You can expect to get it. It's important for you to expect that. Your faith and expectancy open the way. It is the law of the universe. We're not going to argue with the law of the universe, are we? Just as you must give to make way to receive, you cannot give anything away without getting something in return. This is what Charles Fillmore taught. This is what Catherine Ponder taught 60 years ago. And this is still what Unity teaches. So the idea of giving before receiving does require some faith in those prosperity principles, doesn't it? It requires a belief that it will help you to become prosperous. So in taking that first step of giving in faith, it's important. We know it's important that we do this to get that prosperity to start flowing into our life. And we have to believe that God is the source of all of our supply. God. Not the federal government, not that Social Security sector, not that Florida lottery, not the get-rich scheme you hear about, not the promises of scam artists that are so anxious to prey on us, especially here in Florida. No, God is the source of all of our supply. So what did Jesus have to say about this faith? Well, we already heard it once in the Daily Word, but we'll hear it again. Truly I say to you, if there is faith in you, even as small as a grain of mustard seed, which, by the way, is supposed to be the smallest grain, you can say to this mountain, move away from here. Move, and it'll move away, and nothing will prevail over you. This is a great promise of Jesus, and it does work all the time, every time. Whether we're living an abundant life or whether we're experiencing poverty, both are the offspring of our faith and our thoughts. Both are. Napoleon Hill wrote a wonderful book, Think and Grow Rich. Don't know if you've read it, but it has a great chapter on faith, of all things. And this is one of the most influential books of all times that pointing the way to personal achievement, to financial independence, to the riches of spirit beyond money. Interesting enough, if you make the comparison between Napoleon Hill's books and Unity Principles, guess what? They're the same thing. Exactly the same thing. He's taught thousands of people his famous philosophy for success. It's a what to do and how to do it book. And what he has to say about faith, I'm going to read it to you. Wow. Faith is the eternal elixir which gives life, power, and action to the thought vibrations. Faith is the starting point of all accumulation of riches. Faith is the basis of all miracles and all mysteries, which cannot be analyzed by the rules of science. No. Faith is the only known antidote for failure. Faith is the chemical which, when mixed with prayer, gives one direct communication with infinite intelligence. Faith is the element which transforms the ordinary vibration of human thought to the spiritual equivalent. Faith is the only agency through which the cosmic force of infinite intelligence can be harnessed and used by man. Okay, everybody agrees faith is really important, right? Mm-hmm. So the next logical question then, I bet you want to know what's the next logical question?
How do you grow your faith?
How do you increase faith, of course? Well, guess what? Napoleon Hill has the answer. Here it is, few words, easy to remember. Repeating affirmations to your subconscious mind is the only known method of voluntary development of faith. There are no exceptions. Very clear, isn't it? Now, I've proven this to myself that it works. You can too. Not just for increasing wealth, that's great, but for bringing things into your life that you need, so you have that life of plenty that we talked about. Let me explain. I got this banner from my friend Reverend Lauren McLaughlin as a gift a while ago. And this banner you put on your dashboard. And when the sun shines, which is always shining in Florida, comes down and it reflects up. Things always work out for me. Or no, things always work out for me. So every time I'm in that car, 4 or 5 times each ride, I'm affirming things always work out for me. My sister was here for 3 weeks, with me, and she went everywhere with me. And she's noticing my thing in the windshield, and after a while she said, "You know what? Things always do seem to work out for you." "What do you mean?" And she started recalling. It was whenever I said I needed something, it came to me fairly easily without much effort on my part. Now, I'm not talking about winning the lottery or any of that, just every day having plenty. I was telling her, "Oh dear, we've got to get this car washed. I haven't had it washed in 2 months. It looks horrible. I just don't have time." She's okay. So took my car in to get a recall fix, and they kept it so long that they gave me a gift. Car wash, inside, outside, and a polish. Okay then, okay. I was telling her that we really need to get to Ace Hardware, because I need to get one of those things you wrap your hose up in to put on the patio. Mine had broken, I'd thrown it out, and the hose was all over the place. And I said, when we go to Ace, I want to get some side tables for these chairs. I only have one. So we're going about a few days later, we look over, and my next door neighbor, who was ill, clearing out, having a yard sale. I went over, there was that thing you put your hose in with brand new hose in it, 4 of those little tables, bought them all for $50, and his helper brought them to my house, installed the hose. Things always work out for me. I really hadn't thought too much about it, but when we practice this and we become aware of it, we begin to depend on it, not just take it for granted. Well, thinking that you all would like to have one of these, they're valuable. I made a trip to Lauren's yesterday, and I bought all that she has left. There they are over on that table. And you can have one for yourself for $3. Put it on your windshield. And there are 20 of them, and that's all. No more available. So I know you want one. I know every one of you want one of these. It's pretty nice, pretty much fun. Sometimes we make a big mistake of thinking that we're so advanced in our spiritual life that we don't have to practice these spiritual principles anymore. Life's good, I'm feeling good, got plenty of money, everything is going well, so we kind of let that slide. Big mistake, big mistake. In this book, another one of Catherine Ponder's, she tells the story of a man who said this: "Through my study of the laws of prosperity, I began to prosper. Then I attained what I thought was a high level of consciousness. Everything was working well. I was very wealthy, so I didn't need to do that anymore." That was a bad mistake. He thought he had advanced past having to do that, and just to be. They say, just be. Well, his being, just being, didn't take long. 3-year period, his net worth went from $500,000 to $50,000. And he said, "Now I wonder how I could ever have been so foolish. I've gone back to practicing prosperity principles, such as speaking prosperity affirmations. Things always work out for me. He's putting God first financially by tithing. He said, I've learned the hard way that if we don't get definite about prosperity, prosperity will not get definite about us." When he stopped using the inner laws of prosperity, he lost the outer results. Simple as that. As I mentioned at the beginning and throughout this lesson, prosperous life means all aspects of life. Prosperity means good fortune and well-being. Good fortune and well-being. In the latest issue of Reader's Digest, don't know if you get that, there's a very sad story about a 24-year-old woman who was a drug addict. And she didn't enjoy good fortune. She didn't enjoy well-being, no. She had an infant baby that she dearly loved, but when those cravings for that drug came, that's all she could think of. Get a fix now. One night, she was in a state, she said, a bald terror, curled up in fetal position, while her older husband, who was also an addict, was running up and down the street trying to find a drug dealer. Baby was crying. She didn't care. She wanted a fix now. And she had this little note that her mother had given her years ago. It had folded and unfolded and folded. And the note said, look, here's the telephone number of a Christian counselor who might be able to help you since you won't talk to anybody else, and had the number. She was desperate. She knew she had to get rid of this demon on her back. So she dialed the number. It was 2 o'clock at night, in the night. She heard a man say, "Hello?" The woman said, "Hey, I got this number from my mother a few years ago. Can you help me?" She heard a man shuffling around in the bed and turned off his little radio that was playing. He became very present to her. He said, "Yes, yes, what's going on?" And she told him she was scared to death. Things had gotten really bad in her marriage. She told him she was had a drug problem, a big drug problem. The man did not judge her. He just listened with kindness and gentleness. He said, "Tell me more about it." That must have been awful. Oh, no. She talked to that man all night long, and he just listened until the sun came up. Gradually, she began to feel calm. That raw panic had passed. She was feeling so grateful, and she said to the man, "I really appreciate you, all you've done for me tonight. But aren't you supposed to start reading the Bible or something right about now? Or aren't we supposed to pray together or something?" And the man laughed. He said, "I'm really glad that our talk helped you." She said, "How long have you been a Christian counselor?" There was a long pause. And he said, "I hesitate to tell you this, but I'm not a counselor at all. Apparently you dialed the wrong number." But was it the wrong number?
No.
Was it? No. Never got that man's name. Never talked to him again. But the next day, she said she felt a kind of joy inside of her, like something shining was within her, coming out. And she began to believe that there is a random love in this universe, unconditional love. And some of it was for her. She realized that. She had this feeling within her. Later on, she got some professional help. She divorced that abusive drug addict husband. She became a sober, good mother to her child. She got a college degree and is an instructor at a college now, working on her PhD. The final words of her story are this: "This is what I know. In the deepest, blackest night of despair, if you can just get one pinhole of light, like that little tiny mustard seed of faith, one pinhole of light, all of God's graces will rush into you." So you see? Well, it doesn't matter what's going on in your life right now. Maybe you just need a little bit more money. Maybe you need a whole bunch more money. Maybe you need a car wash. Maybe you need help with an addiction problem. Whatever it is, begin putting these principles, these spiritual principles of prosperity to work in your life. Prime that prosperity pump by giving away some of what you already have. Ease into that process of tithing. And when things are going well for you and you've got plenty, keep it up. Plant prosperity seeds in your mind with a constant practice of affirmations. Remember, that's the only known way. And in times of trouble, believe that help is on the way as you reach out your hand in faith. Good fortune and a life of well-being are waiting for you because prosperity is your birthright. God bless you.